Good morning and good night. So happy to be here with you today, and welcome to the BlueJeans by Verizon Founders Viewpoint webinar. I'm Jeremy, part of the Verizon communications team. Like I said, so happy to be here with you today. Got two excited gentlemen that we're going to talk to here in a couple minutes, take some of your questions. But before we do that, I want to give you the lay of the land if you've never used BlueJeans before. You are in a view and listen only mode, so you won't be able to interact with us verbally. We won't see you, so sit back, enjoy this show. We do encourage you, though, engage with us. I see some of you already in the chat. You found that. Thank you for doing that. Also, critical to this Q&A, your questions, their answers. Use the Q&A button there on the right-hand side of your screen to get those in. We'll take a look at them and answer them as we go throughout. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded and we will share it after the event. But let's go ahead and get started. I have the pleasure of introducing our guest today, Alagu Periyannan, Vice President of Advanced Collaboration Technologies, and Krishna, who is the Chief of Innovation and Products. Gentlemen, thank you so much and happy to be here with you today. Krish, I want to start with you, and I think you'll bring Alagu into the conversation here. As the founders of BlueJeans, one, thank you for what you did, and pioneers in video conferencing. Tell us a little bit about your original vision for BlueJeans and how it came to be.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy. Thanks for having us here. It's going to be an interesting conversation. When Alagu and I first met, maybe 11 years ago, we had this idea that we needed to make video very ubiquitous. That is, everybody should have access to video technology, the interactiveness, and so on. So in essence, we wanted to democratize video conferencing. And that idea that you need to democratize video conferencing was something that many people did not see. We saw video as a next frontier in communication. It had so much promises to improve people's lives. And then we saw the challenges. And the challenges were, how do you get all of the different systems to work together? Video in those days were just not interoperable. And I think that's where Alagu and I started talking about, how do you make this ubiquitous, everybody can access to it, and the idea of BlueJeans came about. And I just a tidbit, and that's the reason we named the company BlueJeans. There's one thing that is universal that everybody likes is BlueJeans, so that's how we named it. So Alagu, you are the one that was championing that all video communication needs to interoperate, and there was a lot of technology challenges. So maybe you can let us know how you thought about democratizing video conferencing.
Yeah, no, thank you, Krish. Thank you, Jeremy. It's kind of, we look back, 10 years of where we sort of started the company, and it's amazingly, fortunate where we are today, when this pandemic hit, and in the kind of capabilities that we had in the world, not just from BlueJeans, but from, several of the other players in the space. And I feel really proud as well as fortunate that we were, part of making that happen. 10 years ago when we started, it was, both of us were at companies where we were sort of just barely starting to use video. We would use video for like that Monday morning sort of staff call, and that's about it, right? I mean, and it would take, a fair amount of orchestration to get that going. But we lived in audio conference calls, right? And that's kind of how the world did business, back then. So we wanted to bring the simplicity of that audio conferencing to video. And so that's how we sort of backed into, what is it going to take to actually do that? I mean, when you call back then, when you call somebody for an audio conference call, you never ask them, hey, what phone are you going to use? What brand of phone? What are you going to use to dial in? You may dial in from home. You may using your cordless phone. You may dial in on the road from your mobile device, or from the office from a speakerphone. It kind of didn't matter. You just told them, here's where we're going to meet, and you decide how you want to join. That's the simplicity we wanted to bring to video. And, between us and several of the industry players, we've largely sort of achieved that. And it's pretty amazing that we achieved that before this pandemic, so we could all, continue to stay productive.
So I'll go one other thing that you should be proud of. Uh, 15 years ago or 10 years ago when we started the company, the concept of cloud-based video never even existed. That's a unique BlueJeans innovation that we brought. And that's a credit to you to think about delivering video in the cloud. Any comment on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was definitely people sort of resisting, at that point, like, a lot of the companies that were selling video, some of our current competitors would come in and say, no, you got to have this like really sort of orchestrated network, all of the same company's gear. That's the only way video is going to work. And so, I mean, part of democratizing it is saying that, no, it'll actually work with the cloud. And, those were sort of the early days of cloud. I mean, people were doing other types of web applications and ERP and all that type of stuff in the cloud, but not video, right? And so, it took a little bit of convincing, but it was not just small companies, but even larger enterprises were ready, and they wanted something like this.
I think it's remarkable to think, 10, 15 years ago, and how, like you're saying, so ubiquitous that this is today. But heck, I can tell you 2 to 3 years ago, when we were going into an office location or a conference room, people were still blown away that you could bring in video to that conversation and it wasn't audio only. And you think about where that was, where we are today, and how that has helped people stay connected is so important. And I'm always amazed going down the road, or if I'm listening to the options through BlueJeans of commute mode, and you've made it so easy, so I appreciate that. Talk to me a bit, Krish, if you will, about what's in store. You're part of the Verizon family now, how that works for you and BlueJeans, and where things are going.
Great question. If you think about Verizon, what is Verizon? It's one of the largest network telecommunication provider, and with the introduction of 5G, low latency, huge amount of bandwidth. What does video conferencing need? The same thing, low latency, lots of bandwidth, so you can look your best. You can communicate from anywhere without pixelation, without all the breakup and everything else. And our idea that BlueJeans video should be universally interoperable, accessible from anywhere on the planet, goes hand in glove with Verizon, right? We both have the same ideals, if you will, secure, easy to use, universal. And Verizon brings that network together. We bring the interactive video application together. And when you put it together, it's like peanut butter and chocolate. They go well, very well. So you can have this immersive experience on the Verizon network, and especially on mobile. So we are so proud of. We got started last year. They say the best is yet to come, and I'll bring it over to Alagu. Alagu has lots of goodies in store for developing some of these things. It's like when he saw the Verizon network, it's like a kid in a candy store. So Alagu, if you want to talk about a little bit about 5G and edge computing, all those things that you get excited about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, from the early days of having the discussions, we were partnering with Verizon, prior to, them merging with Verizon. But even from the earliest days, I mean, this promise of this transition to 5G and what it can do to applications was always part of that conversation. And with every sort of transition from 3G to 4G to 5G, we've seen huge new set of capabilities and applications come to bear, right? And with 5G, I mean, today, if you look at sort of, even the call we're having, the basics are around audio, video, the ability to share your screen and doing that in a very high quality manner. And you could say, like, we've sort of largely achieved that in existing networks. To a large extent, we can go to 4K, we can do a lot of, higher resolution, all of that with more bandwidth. But what's more exciting is the new types of capabilities. It's sort of like the Maslow's hierarchy, right? I mean, you've got this, basic set of needs. Now you start, you've got your food and your, shelter and all of that. now you start being, much more sort of intellectual. What can you do with your set of capabilities? Similar to that, you've got the basic audio, video, screen sharing. We can build some pretty amazing, set of capabilities on top of it using, AI and computer vision, techniques that layer on top of this, and the 5G and mobile edge compute the capabilities sort of allow you to do that. And I'm sure we'll be talking some more about what we're doing in healthcare, in remote work, all of that, where the set of capabilities of even your mobile device at some point, while those mobile devices are becoming more and more powerful, you combine that with the capabilities in the network, in the edge of the network, and that powerful combination opens up a lot of capabilities. And that's what I'm super excited about.
For you to, sorry. I'm going to wait for you to share all the different things that we are going to be launching or launched on MEC and 5G. That's very unique to the industry. A lot of innovation going on. Would not be possible, Jeremy, without be part of the Verizon family.
Yeah. And I love what you both mentioned there, and it is so much more. BlueJeans is so much more than just a way for those of us not in an office to connect. You mentioned telehealth and things to come. Walk me through the impact that this can have in that industry.
Well, when it comes to pandemic, and during the pandemic, as you know, that not everybody could access their providers, and telehealth was here to stay. And one thing about telehealth, it has lots of great promises. It's delivering benefits today in terms of remote visits and so on. But the future is just enormous. So I compare this to something that is unrelated to this industry. When a little story, ATMs, the thing that we talk about, we take for granted, was introduced in the 1970s so that people can access cash when the banks were offline or at night. Today, you don't even go to a bank. Everything you want, you do it at home with your ATM or whatever. That's what telehealth promises. That is, your home is going to be a medical clinic with access to doctors, access to all the monitoring devices. So you don't have to get on the car, go to a doctor. So what BlueJeans did with the Verizon partnership is retool, reinvent telehealth. When pandemic happened, people had to use their meetings tool that they had which was video conferencing for telehealth. But as you all know, the meetings that we use in office was not designed for telehealth. It was for meetings. The telehealth requirements slightly different, and that's what we innovated. First, we introduced the concept of no download mobile access. You don't have to install an application to access a doctor. That made it so easy to use. When you visit a doctor, there's a concept of a waiting room. We made sure that in our telehealth, there's a waiting room that is similar to a waiting room that you'll experience when you go to in a brick and mortar visit. You can customize the waiting room. You can fill intake forms. I can do all that. We even introduced the concept of an interpreter service. There are times when we go into a doctor, you need to have an interpreter for those, and we introduced that dynamically. We also integrated that with how the offices conduct their businesses with EHR integration and so on. So there's a lot of innovation in telehealth that BlueJeans brought. It was redesigned for telehealth rather than repurpose something for a meeting. one of the things that very exciting is like we integrated with Apple Healthcare Kit. So when you wear a watch and you're monitoring your heart rate, all those things can be transmitted to your doctor. And this is the beginning of something that we plan to innovate and continue and eventually realize the dream of converting your home to your own medical clinic. And that's what we call a house call.
That's an appropriate name there. Alagu, talk us through anything you want to think about telehealth, but also what other industries can benefit from this. I know we've done a lot of, I've seen a lot of cool things that have happened with some pro sports leagues, right? So where does this go from telehealth?
Yeah, I mean, if you sort of think about, telehealth, there's the sort of the doctor-patient sort of interaction, right? I mean, that's what Krish was mostly sort of talking about here. But one thing that is common to telehealth and many, many other industries is sort of the relationship between, people out in the field and experts, right? There's a knowledge sort of worker. I mean, there's a knowledge gap today that exists, no matter what industry it is, right? I mean, there's a set of experts and they need to be available in, geographically so many different places. And something like that is not easily possible without something like video. And so in telehealth, with surgeries, sure, there's remote surgeries and where people can really provide their expertise to a surgery that's happening in a different location. For that, you need some very, very high resolution, high quality. But the thing that excites me even more is back to how do we sort of bring this capability that's at the edge of the network to something like telehealth. You could have a whole AI model that's running in the cloud that is constantly watching over a surgery that's happening and providing some assistive information on the screen, whether you're wearing a sort of a set of AR glasses or sort of a companion screen that's available while you're doing this. So it's not only bringing in sort of remote experts in, but also remote AI into this environment. And that's kind of where the really nice blend of computer vision, AR sort of overlaying on top of this while the surgery is happening, all of that sort of comes into play. And this is now applicable to so many different industries, right? I mean, you could sort of think about this in real estate, in just field service, your Sears, the maintenance worker sort of coming in, he knows how to fix a few different things, but when it gets a little more complicated, he needs to call in the experts, right? And you mentioned sports. I mean, that is certainly an area that we are looking at. How can with consumers be able to sort of share their experiences in in a playing field or with their friends that are watching remotely. How can they bring all of this from the incredible amount of 5G we've deployed in a lot of these locations? So there's some interesting applications there as well.
So Alagu, I remember a couple of years ago, maybe a little longer than that, you famously came up with a slogan for our company when we wanted to brainstorm what the North Star for the company. You came up with a slogan saying "better than being there," which has lots of implication. It was like something that I think will stand the test of time, and that our design team thinks about better than being there. So recently, we announced the integration of Google Classes, and maybe you can tell us a little more about the implication of things like better than being there, implementing through Classes, and maybe introduction of other AR, VR technologies that gets us to that vision of better than being there.
Yeah, I mean, this concept of better than being there is really, and you can start off with something like sports, right? I mean, all of us know that the kind of experience, watching sports today from your home, you get actually a very, very, different perspective, and sometimes a better perspective than when you're actually there in the field, right? And if you sort of extend that works in so many different, types of applications. And AR really sort of brings that home because it is able to blend the real world and the virtual world together. So you're sitting, in some location, you're able to, at the same time, interact with the real world and have, that open communication to that virtual world in the form of, some sort of overlays. And so, if you look at, so what does that do? I mean, is that just a little gimmicky, like, heads-up display? No, I mean, it sort of gives you additional information. Imagine sort of, being able to watch a game with a bunch of additional information there. Or, back to what we were talking about earlier, bringing a remote expert who's able to see what you see. And when you're looking at that, washing machine that you need to fix, being able to annotate on top of what you're able to see, and this is how, that's the part that you need to sort of remove and replace. So that type of expertise is possible only with this, blending of the physical and the virtual world with, capabilities like AR and bringing sort of collaboration into that, AR space.
So we recently continue on along the same lines. There's lots of talk about Metaverse. Perhaps you can share some of the things that we are doing in that space or adjacent to that space that if you want to say something about that, that'll be great. Share with our audience what we have been up to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody's hearing a lot about Metaverse. It was already happening, a year ago, but in the last like 6 months, with Facebook changing their name to Meta, and so many other, you saw what Microsoft did this week in the gaming space. So this is a lot of activity happening in that space. At BlueJeans and Verizon, we've had some amazing partnerships in this space. I mean, not only with some of those companies, but also with some really cutting edge, companies that are bringing in, Hollywood-style sort of content to this metaverse, and applying that in the enterprise, in the learning space. So you've heard us talk about Dreamscape. Verizon is really collaborating with them to bring the power of the 5G MEC ecosystem to this type of application, because all of this is going to require that type of low latency network to run on. What I'm sort of excited about is really bringing this in a more practical manner. We all, everybody talks about video fatigue. We all, be going from video fatigue to metaverse fatigue, right? I mean, you can't wear a headset for like more than 20 minutes and really, be comfortable with it. So there's a time and place for sort of, being in this completely immersive environment. But the way we've sort of taken it is really sort of back to for everyday. And some of what we've announced as part of Spaces is a great example where we're not pushing you heavily into this immersive metaverse 3D environment, but sort of starting you off with much more sort of audio and 2D focused environment where you can come in and hang out in this space, interact with others in a very, very lightweight sort of push to talk type manner. But anytime with a click of a button, you sort of move into a more immersive mode. Or you can actually even start, a video call and move into a, full sort of video conferencing mode. So that flexibility is super important as we sort of think about metaverse and some of these applications, because you wouldn't be able to be in for extended periods of time, more than 20, 30 minutes in a completely immersive environment.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to use some of these cases. And part of what my team does is we do a lot of virtual events by nature of being in the pandemic, just like this one. Um, so I appreciate everyone tuning in today and getting your questions in that we'll get to here in a moment. But I'm talking about virtual events. Krish, how does the world continue, post-pandemic? Will this type of hybrid life still exist where you do have people who go, you know what, I don't really feel like leaving the house or leaving where I am. I'll just tune in via the app.
So I think the pandemic has just accelerated what we all knew at BlueJeans long time ago when we designed the product to replace the then single format called the webinar, where you attended somebody presented on a screen and then everybody attended over a phone. That was what the world was used to, webinars. So that was one way. BlueJeans really pioneered the concept of interactive live events. We launched the product in 2015, and people didn't think that live event was necessary and so on. And today, I would say we are one of the largest provider, the innovator in this industry for a live event. To answer your question, Jeremy, this is going to grow in leaps and bounds. Every facet of our life where we need to have gatherings, it's going to be over video, it's going to be live event, it's going to be interactive, it's going to be information sharing. So already all the trade shows are going to be hybrid. Some people would be would be able to attend sitting in their office or home, and some people would like to travel. But the key thing is, how do you blend the two seamlessly? Those in the watching from home and those on the trade show floor, those are some of the innovations that you can expect. The real benefit is when you had events, live events where you had to travel, it limited the amount of people that can attend. They were expensive. Not only travel, hotel cost, but the cost itself, the time, right? And so the information was limited. Now with this hybrid environment, you're getting this information to the entire population. Whoever has a computer and a broadband, thanks to Verizon, you can actually attend something. So this information transformation is going to benefit all kinds of industry, whether it be trade shows, whether it be a community gathering, it could be a Lions Club meeting if you have to, or during a pandemic, sharing of health information. It's going to transform how we do even education for large populations, right? So I see this going on. It will also bleed into the consumer application, watching a large event as a live event streaming, right, with interactive capabilities. So this technology of live event has the power to transform our lives as we experience video. What BlueJeans specifically is doing is making it hybrid. One, introducing a lot of different things to make the production of live event seamless. One of the products I'm so excited to talk about is the introduction of Studio, we just announced, which is the idea of being able to be a producer. Imagine everybody on this call can actually produce an event and then publish it. You know how powerful that is, a professional broadcast capability. Jeremy, we may put you out of business with this Studio product. That's the capability. Don't worry about it. You have a good voice too. We need that.
Well, yeah, you self-serve these things, right? You bring it to the masses to make it easier to get to where they want to go. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So the studios is there, and we have a huge capacity. We were the first one to have 150,000 attendee capability for the first time, and the amount of features we are introducing to live events is an astonishing clip, and all with the proper security and authentication, all those things that is expected of an enterprise grade product. So very excited about hybrid events for the future.
Yeah. And then Alagu, on the other side, for those of us who are using it for work, as more and more companies and businesses operate in a hybrid style, like Verizon is, where we do have customer-facing folks who are out in the field serving those customers, but you have other folks who are like us, where we are right now. What role will video conferencing play in that area?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, Jeremy. It's not just about sort of, people out in the field and, more knowledge workers that are able to sort of, work from home. I think just across the board, you're going to see, post-pandemic, the world is just going to continue to stay hybrid, not just for your professional life, but even your sort of personal life. I mean, almost whether it's a family event or, some other type of gathering, you're going to have some people that are going to be virtual, some people are going to be, and that is, that kind of request is just going to happen. Oh, well, I'm not able to come there, for that event, and so can I dial in or can I basically join in? And so with that, we have to be, super cognizant, as an industry, as a provider, of how we design our systems to have that equal sort of playing field for people that are virtual as well as people that are physical. If you look at pre-pandemic days, I think most people were in that conference room, and a couple of people were remote, and they were usually largely sort of not part of that, level playing field in the conversation. That's actually flipped around, right, during the pandemic. So most of us are remote. So if you have some people sitting in a conference room, they're really not in a level playing field. All the remote participants are sort of on an equal playing field, able to sort of interact with each other. But the people in the conference rooms, you see only their sort of tiny faces, like around a large table, and not like the kind of how we are able to see each other's expressions and all of that. So there's work we're doing to make all of that, much more, on an equal footing. I mean, this is where some computer vision and other capabilities come in, where we're able to, take video coming out of these conference rooms and sort of, split it up and be able to offer that in a very similar format as what is available when dialing in remote.
Yeah.
This is where some of the AR capabilities and all of that can sort of, come in. So we just need to prepare for this forever future of, hybrid. And, I think it's going to be really cool. Like, the kind of things that you can do. This is sort of some of the better than being there can happen as well.
Yeah. And you got to remember, in those situations, to incorporate everyone. I think for so long we were not in person. So then you get people together, they have their natural tendencies, but BlueJeans can help bring that together wherever you are. Hey, I want to jump into some of these questions that we have from some of our attendees. Again, thank you for joining us. I want to start with this one from Stephen out in California. Please comment on the efforts to assure HIPAA guidelines are being a focus, as telehealth was a comment made as a focus area, how the teams will develop for those types of guidelines.
Yeah, let me take that, Jeremy. BlueJeans Telehealth is HIPAA compliant, and we'll sign BAA for that. So it was designed with that and goal in mind. So we are HIPAA ready, and as we develop more and more product, it'll be compliant with all regulatory needs for that telehealth industry, not only for the United States but elsewhere as we expand.
Fantastic. Stephen, thank you for your question. A couple of questions about the network, 5G and mobile edge compute playing into BlueJeans and the innovation roadmap. There are two questions here, so we can kind of hit these quickly. What do you see as the company's biggest opportunity that it is yet to move on?
I mean, I think we've largely focused on sort of enterprise and business oriented experiences from a BlueJeans perspective. When we got acquired, we sort of merged into the Verizon business group, so it's really been focused around that area. There is a huge untapped potential in the consumer space, right? I mean, we talked about if the world is forever going to be hybrid, I mean, every consumer type experience can benefit, whether it's in the sort of sports area, it's just sort of basic social gatherings. So that's an area we have not tapped into as much, and you'll see us, doing much more in that space.
I would say I will add on now, Alagu, that video is going to play a very critical role in the metaverse, right? By bringing in real-time interaction into a metaverse environment. That's the video, and Verizon and BlueJeans combined has all the assets, right? We have the 5G for ubiquitous low latency and bandwidth, and then Verizon also has all the handsets, and then we provide all the low latency interactive high resolution video with ease of use. The metaverse is where real-time video insert into a metaverse environment is going to be making it very dynamic, very real. And I'm excited to see that hybrid possibility in the metaverse.
Yeah, and one more thing to add. I mean, I think the person that asked the question, asked about sort of social media content creators, right? I mean, I think like while the initial sort of focus for Studio is around, the business use case, I mean, we're going to put it out there so, people can use that. And I mean, it's just remarkable, the kind of content that's being created, in the social media sort of world. And this is going to be a tool that they can use, to have, live talk shows, a bunch of, those types of interactions, where you don't need like a big production crew to do it. I mean, this one person, I mean, a lot of these social media creators are like, one-man shows. So we're really sort of enabling that sort of one-man show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you have creators who sit in their homes and they're streaming, playing video. Like you got to do a lot of point and clicking on yourself. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I've got a ton of questions here, so I'm going to try to pile through these in about the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. You've talked a lot about the metaverse. What are your thoughts on hologram technology like Portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's with volumetrics and that type of technology, I think there's a little more work to be done to fine tune the technology to be available in a little more mass market and sort of easier manner. But these are the kinds of areas where you need a lot more sort of compute resources to be able to do that, and you cannot have those compute resources on your sort of end user mobile device or iPad or whatever. And the combination of that end user device and what is in the network, with mobile edge compute, the sort of computational power that's in the network has to come to play to make this, much more real. There's a little more work there to sort of bring that to mainstream. I mean, it'll be there more in sort of one-way experiences. What I mean by one-way experiences is that, produced experiences where you can, benefit from that, but sort of bi-directional types of experiences, and there's a little more work to do, but certainly will be happening, and it requires the type of 5G network to make that happen.
Great. Thank you for that. A couple other questions here. This one came in, and I think it's probably one you all get a lot, but I'd love to hear your take on it as you talked about where we are and where you are in the industry. How does BlueJeans compare side by side with Zoom?
Yeah, good question. As you know, people do ask us that question a lot. So when it comes to basic video conferencing, BlueJeans is par with all of them. Not only Zoom, there are other people out there. The basic, everybody has the basic. When you look beyond the basics and look at as a platform, how can you take the BlueJeans platform? What are some of the advantages? When you get BlueJeans, you get telehealth. You get the security. You get the integration with the 5G network. You get an awesome mobile experience. Then the platform supports this large events capability. And on top of that, for business customers, enterprise customers, you get rich analytics all the things that will help you design better meetings. We introduced the concept of smart meetings, where automatically you're getting an analysis of all the things that were said in the meetings, highlights, and so on. So with what we do is we provide the best experience on the best network for all application with security, enterprise manageability, and enterprise-grade technology. And we do not forget our roots, interoperability. We are here to say that BlueJeans needs to work with everything. We started with that. So when we're still continuing to innovate on making sure all of the room conferencing system works together, including Microsoft Teams. We are the only one. We pioneered the access to Microsoft Teams Gateway. So all these things make BlueJeans the choice for enterprise deployment.
And you mentioned something there that I want to pick up on. Security is a big issue in the industry. How is BlueJeans different? You talked about being enterprise grade. Alagu, dive into that for me, if you will, please.
Yeah, no, from the very, very early days of BlueJeans, I mean, when we built BlueJeans, we thought it would be sort of initially adopted by, lots of smaller businesses, medium-sized companies. But we were just amazed, almost from the day we introduced it. There were several Fortune 50 companies that wanted this capability because, they were all using video in some form at that time, but it was just too cumbersome, right? So when a lot of these like big companies came knocking on the door, Krish and I debated, I mean, are we really ready for, opening it up? And we made a decision fairly early that we absolutely want to go after some of these larger companies. And what that did is it really, made us think hard about security and some of the compliance needs and all of that for these larger companies very earlier on in our sort of journey. So, if you sort of go look at how our reputation in the industry, we've always focused a lot on security. We continue to focus on it in terms of not just, features and functionality, but how do we secure our network and be ready for that. And being part now of Verizon has only sort of increased that focus. Verizon, as one of the most trusted network brands, and the kind of capabilities and the scale that they can bring to us to help us, make sure that we continue to, be that most secure, conferencing provider.
Fantastic. Thank you for that answer. I want to go to one more question here from one of our attendees, and then we'll start wrapping this up. And really, this is a use case question, but Gerald asked, curious about how collaborative cancer research processes enhanced by BlueJeans. When you talk about telehealth, there's obviously the I need to speak to a doctor right now type of I've got this cough, I've got this to take care of. When you think of some of the research that goes into it, is that a use case area where we're seeing medical professionals use BlueJeans, and what are some other examples?
Oh, absolutely. We have a lot of customers, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. We use BlueJeans for collaborative research. And what do you need in a collaborative research? You have the basics of immersive collaboration with rich video, document sharing, screen sharing, taking notes, all of this different interaction, and actually even integration with events when you have a collaboration and you want to publish that and you want to give it to an audience. All that is the basic collaborations there. But let me expand beyond just collaboration, even in the telehealth area. One of the biggest area that people use it for is when they're even with the doctor-patient is consulting with an expert, a remote expert who can be brought into the meeting with the doctor and patient. Let's say it is you're diagnosed with cancer, you can bring in a cancer specialist live on the call and integrate with that. So all forms of collaboration is possible on the telehealth platform, or even on the basic BlueJeans platform. It is being used, as I said, in the pharmaceutical industry very well for this same purpose.
Thank you for that. And again, I appreciate all the chats and the questions here. I want to wrap with this question as we look into the future, crystal ball time. Bring that magic with you. As you look down the road, what industries will benefit most from having remote meeting flexibility in the coming years? Where's the next frontier? I'm interested to hear that from both of you.
Alagu, you want to take that first, and I'll close it up on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it is really going to be across the industry and across sort of, social experiences. And, certainly there are some industries that will be ahead of others, telehealth, the sort of, remote maintenance, those types of places where you need to bring in a lot of experts, to bear on a particular problem or solving a problem. But just everyday team collaboration is now just going to be taken for granted, and so that is cross function across all industries. And so there are some other places where it'll be a little more into the future. When it comes to some of these Hollywood and sports and all of that, where bringing remote collaboration into that, it's going to be more one-way experiences before we sort of bring in more bi-directional.
I would say that some of the other areas that video is being inserted into is on any type of consumer interaction call centers. You want to be able to talk to a live agent. As you know, many of you who use TurboTax during tax season, which is what we are now, using live agents to help with your taxes, it's been a big hit. That type of application is going to be ubiquitous across a lot of different, whether it be reservations, hotel, and so on. That's one type. The second type that we are really interested in is in all these field-based communication, construction site, real estate, all of these things, especially when powered with handheld mobile devices, and you'll be able to see what I see type application, and you should be able to show and interact with that. Your repairman would have a video interaction when he comes home, and he can show it to him, or he can actually show something to a headquarter expert to see how to repair something. All these things will be more pervasive. I will be at some point in the future, in the next 3 to 4 years, it'll be second nature. We won't even think about it. Hey, we would, just like now, video conferencing is becoming second nature. Having a video device on handheld to interact with, whether it be field service, ticketing, reservations, any type, will be second nature, just like a phone call. And so we have barely scratched the surface on video application. So it's going to migrate from meetings to video applications, and across all devices, and mobile being the leading one of them.
Fantastic. And Thomas got one more question in here under the under the gun. Will you consider developing a BlueJeans app that runs on smart TVs? When you think about, if we're all in this hybrid world, a lot of us have smart TVs right in our home. Where would you go with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things that you've seen from us, recently is running our application on Polycom and those types of, more enterprise devices. You're going to see us expand that to multiple, types of devices, and even things like AR glasses. All of these are built on top of, our SDKs and APIs. A lot of them are converging on the Android platform. So we've actually built an experience around Android where we can bring it to many, many more devices. And a lot of these smart TVs are those types of open platforms. So you're going to see us, bring those capabilities as apps, in those devices in the future, more, for a consumer setting. But, you could even use, I think, just like a whiteboard was a standard feature in any kind of conference room. a large format TV is going to be just standard in every conference room, as you move forward. And, whether it's collaborative whiteboarding or video conferencing, our app can bring that to the smart TVs.
Yeah, a lot of cool things, a lot of innovation built on a legacy of thinking differently. Alagu, Krish, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great conversation, and thank you all who joined us. We will be sending out a recording of this webinar if you want to go back and watch that. We will see you on the next one. Everyone have a safe and healthy weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Alagu. It was a great question and answer. I look forward to the next one as well. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.